guys. I'm so excited all day to get to this one. Miss Lisa Leininger, I know you've just got done with a marathon. So
yes.
Start off, tell me what your name is again. I'm sorry.
Jacqui Grallo.
Jacqui Grallo. So how do you know each other?
So we became friends after we met each other at work. We both work at Cal State Monterey Bay.
Okay.
I'm a professor in kinesiology, and Jacqui is the interim dean of the library.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so
Got some smart folks in today.
Well, she is for sure. If you want the best friend ever, have a friend that's a librarian.
It's like your own Google.
She knows it's exactly what it
Right?
is, actually.
Crazy questions.
Everything.
She
yes.
knows it all.
Or she can find it.
Right.
That's the big thing. So we met at work, working on a committee together, and then Jacqui and I live on the same street.
Oh,
so
okay. Walk by each other and say, hey, I know you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. And so I don't know how I wrangled her in, but somehow I got her to start running with me.
Wow.
And that was several years ago.
Were you a runner before that?
Not really.
No?
I could go, 3-4 miles by
Right.
myself, and started hearing her talking about her adventures. I was like, I'd like to come along.
Like 5 miles? And what would you just do?
I think
22
my longest run, I think before I met Lisa, was 6 miles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can do 5, and that's all I can do. You know, I hear
Well,
people
you just got to
running.
you just have to keep doing it. That's the thing about running long
Right.
distances, is just being consistent. But so that was at least 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was far before.
4. I think it was 4.
Yeah. And so we started running recreationally together. We live out, on the Cal State Monterey Bay campus. So it's right at Fort Ord. So
Oh,
we
no
have all
kidding.
the great trails.
Wow.
And so we started going out there and running a bit together. And I kind of just roped her in further and further and further. And so now, or Sunday, we finished the Cal International Marathon.
You did that too?
Yes.
I did it too.
Yes.
You crazy?
Not as fast as her, but I did
Right.
it, and
Did it.
it was a blast.
Well, that's
Right, you
why
finished.
that's why I told her she had to come with me today, because she's actually we have a small group of people that train together, doing various things, and so she's definitely my number one training partner. And so,
Perfect.
yep.
I know you hesitated a little bit because you're like, the Tuesday burnout is a real thing. So I don't know if we're going to be ready to sit down and talk.
It's real.
Yes, it is real.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, so Steve worked on me last week to get ready for the race. And so when he told me, come talk to me, be on my podcast, race is
Right.
on Sunday. And I'm like, Tuesday legs, man.
Right? Tuesday legs. That's
Tuesday
what it was,
legs. It's rough. But actually, I think we're both over the most sore point.
Yeah.
Right? Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
Yep. I started to feel better a couple hours ago.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
so yesterday was the worst.
It's a real science for you.
Absolutely.
The months coming up to a big race. It's, you're doing, I don't know, all I know is like bodybuilding and stuff like that. But I know there's a regiment where you have to bulk real hard.
Yep.
And then take the last 2 months and do real low weights with high reps
Right.
to try to rip yourself down.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same thing, right?
So we do something
Explain
we do something very similar. And so in weightlifting or resistance training, you'll often hear it called periodization, where you're putting in different types of cycles. And so just my background is actually, my degrees are in exercise physiology. And that's actually how I started running, because I worked for a company that did endurance training. And then when I got my doctorate and came out here, got much more into doing longer distances, half marathons and full marathons. And so I've had the good fortune of really learning from some people that are very good at endurance planning, program planning and training. And so there is a real art and science to it. And you definitely, if you're talking about a full marathon, there's tons of ways to do it, but there are general things that are going to be good no matter what specific program you're following. So you want to have a base. And so when we talk about having an aerobic base, it means being able to run at a pretty leisurely pace for, some set of miles. So if someone has a base of 8 miles, they're going out on the weekend, they're doing their 8-mile run. They're feeling pretty good with that. So it's definitely important to have a nice, strong, what we would call aerobic base. And we do that pretty much all year to some extent. You definitely have to work in recovery days, which I'll talk about later, but we maintain a base. And then there's a strength phase as well. So about a month before we start our build up to a race, we'll go through like a hills and drills period where we'll once a week do drills and we'll do hill repeats.
Real high endurance.
Right. Well, and strength and power.
Strength, I see.
Yeah, and it works on form. And then 12 weeks before race day, we kind of have a much more precise program. And it's different for everybody. Jacqui and I run different mileage, and we run different days per week. So for me, I run 5 days a week and about 40 to 45 miles.
Wow, per week.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then Jacqui, what were you doing for this build up?
4 days a week and about 35 miles a week.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's on the lower end.
Sure.
For marathon training.
You gotta make a living too, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jacqui has a pretty demanding job. I mean, my job is demanding, but it's pretty flexible, especially since we've been online because of COVID. But Jackie's job is extremely demanding. So she was actually waking up at 5.
I was waking up at 5 and running at 6 pretty much the whole time.
Did you get stuck on the computer for a while, or did you have to go to work?
I was.
Were you on campus?
I've been on campus since about August. So
Okay.
this year, for the whole training period, I was going to work. So I was doing it before work.
Right.
Yeah. And you're right. And it's very challenging to do that because as you proceed through those 12 weeks, you get more and more tired, you know, and so it does definitely become tougher to get out the door in the morning, and then you're going to bed at like 8 o'clock because you're so tired.
Which actually isn't that bad.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that part.
No,
Days got shorter for a while.
Oh, totally.
Yep.
Throwing you off.
Exactly. So yeah, like I said, we follow a 12-week program, and we have key workouts. So the different types of workouts we have per week, the long run, that we always did on Saturday. Well, actually, I'll start at the beginning of the week. It's probably easier to start the beginning of the week. So I always took Sundays off. I think Jacqui took Sundays off.
Yep.
So you always want to have an off day because recovery is extremely important to this whole process. I would run easy on Monday, and then on Tuesday was an interval workout. Wednesday was more easy running, which is really, really light casual running. Thursday, I would pretty much take off or do something like yoga, walk the dog every day as well. Friday is something we call a PMP, which is essentially a race pace run.
Okay.
So whatever pace you think you want to run for the marathon, my goal pace was about 8:45 per mile, and Jacqui's was 10.
Yeah, around 10.
Around 10.
Yep.
Per mile.
And you try to keep that consistent
Exactly.
through the whole
Yeah,
race?
that's
really?
yes. Yeah, that's a
so
really
you're not trying to start off light and then power through the middle or anything like that, or
a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit, but not
it's messing with your mind, I'm sure.
not too crazy of a fluctuation, right? So on Fridays we would do a race pace run, and then those progress each week, so they get longer and longer and longer.
Okay.
And then the long runs would follow that on Saturday. So and that was the schedule for essentially up until 10 days before the race. And then we taper.
Okay.
And so you pretty much then are doing much more light work, more off days, and you're healing up for race day, which.
Now, you know all this stuff because you've studied this. You have doctorates in kinesiology and all that stuff, right? So
yes, right. So, yeah, like I said, my bachelor's and master's degree in our exercise
it's
physiology.
not like you're just out running going, this is what works for me.
Well, there's a lot of that, though, too, though. It's funny that you say
but
that.
You know
yeah.
the scientific
right.
to back
so,
up what you're thinking.
Yeah. So the programs that we follow are pretty, they're absolutely scientifically based, but they're very carefully crafted. And like I said, I've been fortunate enough to learn that in school, but then also I've got to be mentored by a couple of people that were very good endurance training coaches, triathletes and cyclists, and then marathon runners. So, yes, so we put it together pretty carefully.
Right.
But it is interesting what you mentioned about just going out and figuring out what works for you. There is that for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely, you got to figure out what works for you. And so Jacqui and I, we followed the same pattern of the program, the same key runs, but there was differences for sure.
Yep. I learned.
As far as what?
Well, we trained for a virtual marathon a year ago. That was my absolute first experience. And I learned for me, because I had less overall experience, that less was more, you know? So there were a couple times where I felt like I was maybe working on an injury. And so it was important to back off a little bit. And so I think for me, running 4 days a week instead of 5 and having the slightly lower mileage, I felt healthy and strong and good throughout the training
And
program.
a little more recovery time
Exactly.
for your tendons and
Yes.
that kind of thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. I should add, I'm also a little bit older, so you need a little bit more
That
recovery
extra
time as you
day,
age.
you
Yep.
know, I'm
Yep.
not gonna lie, that extra day.
Yeah,
gives
it
you
makes a
lot
difference.
more when you do get back.
Yeah. And so that was great. Like I said, every week I just felt good and strong, and just every week I felt a little more ready.
Right. Oh, cool. Right. What the accomplishment to get that done. Is that your first?
So it was my first official course.
Right.
You know, last year, because of the pandemic, the race was canceled. So we did a virtual marathon where we just ran basically around the Monterey Bay area for
Yeah, tell me
26.2
more about
miles.
that, because I know Lisa and I have talked about that too. It's everybody's running the same amount of miles, not necessarily running at the same time.
Right.
You could be running on your own course, which kind of brings up, well, some people are going to have more hills than others. and that kind of
Exactly.
thing. So it'd be best if you all ran the same course, but at different times. But that's not the way. Well, tell me about how'd that go down.
Yeah. So, I mean, in a pandemic situation, you know, you can't have the official race that we ran this year was 10,000 participants.
Holy cow.
You know, yeah, which was amazing. It was awesome. And, you know, but a year ago that wasn't possible. So, yeah, there was, what was it, a month window where you could run. And Lisa and I chose our route based on, well, part of it was scenery. Part of it was we wanted it to be fairly flat at the end, because that's when you're feeling the most challenged,
Exactly,
right?
right.
And then you just record your time on your GPS watch, and then you upload it to the system. So yeah, you can kind of compare yourself to other people, but you're right. There are variables. So
Yeah.
it's not quite the same thing, but it was a great first experience. It was a
Sure.
great sort of practice marathon,
Right,
so that when I got
Not
into
everybody
the
watching you on your first
Exactly.
one, right? Just do it at my own pace.
Exactly. And we had the support of our other two really close friends. So she had a bike buddy and I had a bike buddy. And,
no kidding.
Yeah.
So were the bikes in there, or they were just riding along with you, keep you company, or
Yeah, so
give you supplies?
yeah, exactly. So
Right on.
last year, this was only during the virtual race. This year, obviously, that did not happen. But during our virtual race, we started from East Campus in Marina, so on the
okay,
CSUMB
sure,
campus,
okay.
came straight down, took the coastal trail all the way out to Point Pinos.
Point Pinos, yeah.
Yeah, Point Pinos.
Where's that? Is that south of?
It's just it's in Pacific Grove, like by Asilomar.
okay.
Yeah, right before Asilomar, right where
Yeah.
the peninsula turns the
Wow.
corner.
Yeah, right. And so we ran there, and then we had to run back to
Back
pretty
to
much
like
Home
the
Depot
hotel
again.
and Seaside, Home Depot.
Home Depot
And then
again.
turn around again.
and then we ended at Dust Bowl Brewing as our finish line, if you will.
Good place to be.
Yep,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, so our two other friends who train with us, they weren't doing the distance that day, so they met us halfway. And yeah, they were our aid stations. They handed us stuff.
Yep.
They kept us company if we wanted to, but mostly just there in case we needed anything. And we just ran along the coast. So
Did you have better scenery?
no, it was
Nope.
awesome.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's right where I was when I decided I think I'm going to live somewhere right around here.
Yep.
I pulled
Right.
into Marina and got a place.
Yeah.
It's beautiful right
Yep.
there.
Yep, exactly. And so we had a great time last year. And then because the race was canceled last year, we had already our registration for this year. We had
Yeah.
it deferred. So so we went and did the real
real deal.
They
CIM this
canceled
Sunday.
that one. They didn't do a virtual race for that one. Huh?
Yes, that was that. So the
That
one
was the
last
one.
year, right, was
Okay.
the one.
So, yeah,
exactly. So
okay.
we did the same thing last year. It was just here. We
Right.
did it ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me what you do for a living. I want to hear more about this. You know, you are
Human Google.
Google, right?
Google, yeah. So
You work in the library?
yeah, so
you are the library?
I am one of 18 or 19 people in the library. So I am a professional librarian. Prior to becoming the interim dean, my focus was instructional technology.
Okay.
So I work on sort of student-facing technologies that, that students use to learn how to use the library, really.
I see.
And then I would buy the books in media studies, journalism, American and British literatures, and then go in and teach classes.
Right.
So I would go into, professors' classes and do a single session to help students learn to use the library.
Wow.
So that's what I did for most of my time. And then almost a year ago, my boss retired. And so I'm in that position now. So right now I'm leading the library. So 8 or 9 faculty, 8 or 9 staff. And it's sort of managing the day to day and sort of thinking forward and strategically and, maintaining relationships with people in the community. And it's a lot to learn and it's a lot of fun.
Just keeping up on the media and all the new electronics.
It's changing constantly.
Right, especially dealing with kids because they know probably more than you do sometimes.
It's amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
I have to call my kids to figure out what I'm doing on my phone,
Yep. And
you have to be in charge of all of this.
Exactly. And the way that they learn has changed so much because of the pandemic. Students were learning strictly online for a year. Yeah. So how we provide them library materials is changing. Wow. I mean, we were gradually, moving in the direction of electronic before, but it's just accelerated so much now.
You.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's an exciting time to be in libraries.
Are books such a thing anymore?
We still have them.
We
have
books?
A collection of 80,000 print books, but our ebook collection now is 400,000.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. And so most of the librarians.
I don't know why that surprises me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I know.
Just real estate alone.
Yep. So most librarians now, if they're gonna buy a book, they buy an ebook where possible. And then when it's not possible, they'll buy print. We still have plenty of students and faculty and community users that prefer print, Personally, when I'm reading for fun, for pleasure, I prefer to hold a print book in my hand. It's kind of I consider it a nice little vacation from the electronic world, right?
Exactly. I was just I'm trying to learn this editing program, and it's I wish I had a book.
Right. Yeah, that you could open on your desk.
Right?
And exactly.
I don't know. I'm too old. I don't know. But it's just nice to look. Hey.
Yeah, no, you are not alone in that.
Right. Try to find it on the internet or wherever I'm supposed to find it. I'm lost. And you, tell me what you do. You're a professor.
Yes.
So what type of a curriculum easy for you to say?
Yeah. So I'm a professor in the kinesiology department at CSUMB. And kinesiology is a really broad field. So essentially it means the study of movement.
Right.
So it literally could be anything regarding physical activity, health, sports, performance. And there are tons of careers that students can go into. So
from that basic kinesiology.
Exactly. So from that.
I had, when I went through massage school, they gave us a thumbnail of kinesiology because we were just going 100 miles an hour through 1,000, and you kind of got the sketch of it a little bit, but to talk to somebody that's actually got a degree in it, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because we don't really deal with a whole lot of movement as much as far as stretching and slow movements, but not so much the movement of running or the athletics in that type of form.
Right. But anatomy would be very, obviously applicable for you. So, so our students, their core work includes anatomy and physiology, nutrition science, exercise physiology.
Okay.
So exercise physiology is how the body responds to movement.
Okay.
And the way we break it down is how the body reacts to one bout of exercise and then how the body responds to training. And so they take exercise physiology. They take a professional seminar course, which tells them a lot about, what options they have. They take a capstone as well. And so our students also do certification exams. And so they'll become a certified personal trainer, a certified exercise physiologist, certified strength and conditioning specialist. So there's a whole host
Wow.
of exams that they can choose from.
There's a whole lot of different
Yeah,
things.
yeah. And then the other courses that they have at CSUMB as core courses are ethics in physical activity and health
Right.
and service learning. And so they
see.
will go and serve the community in a health or movement related field.
I see.
So that's the core curriculum.
Right.
And then with our kinesiology students, once they have their core work under their belt, they can choose what they'd like to study and specialize in. So our concentrations are exercise science or wellness. So exercise science students will take classes like personal training, strength and conditioning, exercise for special populations, so disability and other conditions. And then our wellness students will do more coursework in like health behavior change, work site health promotion. So it takes, so the exercise science students will focus more typically on exercise, whereas wellness students will add in some other holistic type health topics.
Right.
And so our students, they, like I said, they can go into pretty much any life science, whether that be graduate school, med school, nursing.
Do they know where they're going? I
great
found, when I went into massage therapy, it's like it seemed like half of the class, when we began, it was like, let's, introduce each other and blah, blah, blah. Everybody either wanted to cruise, work on a cruise ship
No.
so they could travel the world, or they could do this or that. But by the end of the curriculum, one was working with cancer patients, one was dealing with, babies and infants. And it was like, as they went through the curriculum and learned what they could do, all of a sudden their options opened up.
Yep.
That is
that the same thing?
Exactly what
Right.
happens with our students. So
Really?
most of our students come in and want to be physical therapists.
Physical therapist.
Yes. And some of them do.
Sure.
Absolutely. So physical therapy and occupational therapy are by far the most popular answers to the career question when you ask that early on when they start taking their kinesiology courses. And then the exact same thing happens. They realize there is so much out there and there are so many different groups of people that they can work with. And so by the time they graduate, we have a big handful that want to do worksite health promotion. They want to work for companies and help employees flourish and thrive.
They didn't even know that existed.
They don't, and exactly,
When they went in.
don't even know that
Right,
companies
right,
hire people
right.
like us to help their employees.
Exactly. That's a good point to come back to.
Yeah.
Where people don't know what they want to be. They don't even know the options out there until you stumble into a hole.
Oh, totally,
You know?
totally. And so I find the exact same thing with our students that, and there's a lot of students, like I said, that we're getting a lot of students now that want to do physician's assistant. Which is great. But
That's a lot of schooling.
it is, but it's actually about the same amount as a physical therapist.
Oh, is it really?
After their bachelor's degree.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah,
see.
it's about a 3-year program after the bachelor's degree, but it's competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So those graduate schools are extremely competitive. So a lot of our students will, fall into something else and oftentimes really find things that they're more passionate about than what they thought they wanted.
Right.
So
right.
we see the same things.
So you probably got a Christmas break coming up here.
Yeah. Next week is finals week.
Ends the big final. I was just going to say there's got to be big tests going on right now.
Yep. So finals week is next week, and then the whole campus will shut down until January 3rd.
Yep.
And then students won't come back till the end of January. Though.
Right. Okay. So that's not the end of the year, is it? No. No. Then
it'll
they
be
start up at a whole nother
Semester,
program.
right? Yeah, so we're on a
I see.
semester system.
Yeah.
So we'll
Okay.
run like late January to May
Right.
for our spring semester.
Oh, how cool! How fun!
Yeah.
So what's the next big run you got coming up?
That's a great question. What is the next big? Do you want to do another marathon, Jacqui?
I'm thinking about it.
Yes.
I'm already putting the fire under her 2 days after.
Right.
I think
Might
more
wanna
than
give her
one a
another
year
week.
would be a lot. So we have until September to decide. But I am going to throw out there. So on my bucket list is to travel to the Arctic.
Uh-oh.
So I want to go north of the Arctic Circle before I
Why?
die.
What is wrong with you?
She is drawn to the cold.
Yeah,
I grew up in
am
Michigan.
just-
You don't want to go there. Stay with the palm trees. All right, it's on the bucket list.
Something
what can
about
I
it.
say? You
She's
know?
not
I
from
don't know.
California. She's from Massachusetts. So.
Okay, well,
I am, and I lived in the mountains of Colorado for a long time. I
So,
love ice and snow.
got some snowflakes in your blood.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I'm inexplicably drawn to it. And so I was interneting around one day and I discovered that there is a marathon at 78 degrees north. So
Bring your parkas.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It's actually because of ocean currents where it is. It's in extreme northern Norway, right? The marathon takes place in June and temperatures can be in the 30s. So I sort of half jokingly threw
hot.
this out there to my friends, and we'll probably never do it. But
Hey. I actually really do.
might.
I really
I
do
dare
want
you to do it. That's how I do it.
want
I
you,
dare
yeah.
you. I bet
No.
you couldn't make it.
So the seed has been planted.
No, the way she presented this was, it's not that cold. And then she said, but it's like in the 30s.
It's not that cold, really.
For the
It's
Arctic.
pretty cold in California.
This is
now.
this is
Cold for California.
Yeah, I am a California girl who belongs in the tropics. So
Right.
this is a big stretch for me. But anyways, yes, so there's a race there.
Yeah.
Well, I had a buddy one time was telling me that he was having a bad day one day, and he was in the Air Force, and he was stationed up in Alaska, and he just decided I'm just going to go running. And he said about halfway back, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it.
Oh gosh.
It was, I mean, I was locking up, and I really had to focus on getting back to base.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
Right.
It was so cold. It was like, yeah, you can't just take off without the right state of mind
Exactly.
in that kind of weather because it's deadly.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And there's wolves out there.
Well, tell
Oh, sorry, I won't tell her that.
No, tell about the exciting part of this race.
Yeah, the unique thing about this race is that there
Polar
are
bears?
polar bears. So they have guards on ATVs with guns. And,
Really?
yeah. Last thing I would ever want is for a polar bear to get shot. But the medal that you get is a polar bear.
Really?
So yeah, it's a very,
Just
it's a
go
very real
strapped,
thing.
you know, have your rifle on your back.
Exactly.
Run.
Yeah. So this could potentially happen. And then also Jacqui, even though she's unsure she's going to do a marathon, also might want to do a 50K.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
That's
How many
31 miles.
It's about 30
31
miles.
31-ish,
So
yeah.
we have one of our close running buddies did a 35 miler for her 35th birthday. And then she did a 50 miler like a year and a half later just for fun. So I'll probably never do a 50 miler, but I was thinking of 50K for my 50th birthday. So I've got a few years, but
Wow.
but yeah,
50 miles.
maybe also
50K.
maybe also
50K.
something
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
bucket
sorry.
list. Yeah, so about 30
Yeah,
miles
30 miles.
on
still.
trails. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's on dirt too.
We would do it on
Hello.
dirt for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. That's special kind of shoes.
There are some
Four-wheel
trail
drive
shoes.
shoes.
There
Yeah,
are.
you wear trail shoes.
I do wear trail
Yeah.
shoes. The great thing about Fort Ord, though, is that most of it is pretty packed and
Is it?
not super technical.
The
So it's-
only people I've talked to that have been out there have been on like the bikes and the
Yeah.
electric bikes.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't know you could run out there. I
Yes.
figured it
Oh,
was
yeah.
too
Oh,
soft
absolutely.
sand. It's all
I mean, there's some
hard-packed.
sand. There's
Is
some
it?
sand, but there's tons of hard pack. And there's
Yeah.
like, I don't even know how many hundreds of miles, 180 miles of trails out
Yeah,
there.
I don't know.
It's something crazy.
It's
I
got to be
mean,
great for your ankles too, though.
it's
Just
great.
the
No,
stability.
trail running is
Yeah.
wonderful. It's wonderful for your feet and your ankles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really contributes to us staying healthy while we run.
I think so too. And I think that the natural beauty is very, very motivating too. It is just so pretty out there. And we've been, I mean, you know, any and all time of year, time of day. I mean, the wildlife that you see, you know, when it's sunny, when it's foggy, it's just, it's beautiful. And it's just one of those things that just never gets old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, my first apartment was in Marina.
Yeah.
You know, because I went by this apocalyptic scene. I couldn't understand why all of these buildings were vacant.
Oh, right. Yes.
And this is really expensive land right
Yeah.
here by the ocean.
Yep.
What happened here?
Yeah.
I had to pull in and find out what was going on.
That's funny. Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and it was beautiful land.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
come to find out, I pulled into this place and there was a bunch of old guys sitting at the breakfast bar, you know, and they're all ex-veterans and, you know, telling me all about what happened. And one guy had an apartment for rent. And I was like, I'll take it.
Nice. Yeah.
And like you say, the fog rolling in the morning. And it's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get high enough up in Fort Ord, you can see the whole bay. Like it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we really are
So
lucky.
cool.
Yeah.
We really are lucky where,
What a little
where
spot.
we are.
So you grew up here,
No, I grew up in Fresno.
Fresno? Is
So-
that south of here?
It is in
Sorry,
the
I'm a
Central
Michigan
Valley.
kid.
No, it
Central
is
Valley is
literally in the middle of California.
straight out.
Almost every way
East.
you could do. It's
Really?
right in the middle.
Bullseye.
And so the Central Valley is a unique area of Fresno, or a unique area of California. And Fresno is the largest city there, over 500,000 people now. But it's a very rural area. So just like Salinas, is kind of called the salad bowl of the state, Fresno and the surrounding area has a ton of agriculture. And so that's where I grew up. I never planned to stay there, but I stayed there for quite a while. And then after I finished all my schooling, got a job here at CSUMB in 2012. Yeah. So I've been here now 10 years. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. Starting
Perfect place to spot.
halfway through my 10th year at CSUMB.
Thailand.
Yeah.
Fresno, that sounds hot. Is that hot out there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Out right in the middle of California?
Yeah, it gets extremely hot, well over 100 degrees for, I think most days this July we're over 100 degrees. My folks are still there. So it is very different.
But
than
nice and
living
dry.
here.
It's not
very
like
dry.
Florida where
it's exactly right. Yeah, it's a joke. We call it. It's dry heat. It's not that bad.
Right.
It's dry heat.
You can cook a potato on the street,
Yep,
but that's
pretty
all
much.
right.
Yeah, right. And so, very different lifestyle than here, certainly. And then in winter, you've got the real dense fog. It gets much cooler there than here.
Is there water there? Is there like lakes and rivers or anything?
Kind of, but just like most of California, it's still pretty
just
dry.
Yeah. Right. I had a daughter live up in Redding, and it was just unbearable hot up there.
Oh yeah, it gets real hot up there too.
I was thinking once you got past, this point of California, it start getting a little cooler,
right?
Like it is in the Midwest, but it's not.
No.
It just keeps getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Until that's a 5-hour drive from here.
Yep.
And it's 110 degrees out.
Yep. And it gets that way in
is
Fresno.
That possible?
And it's only about 2.5 hours away, and so it's pretty wild to when we go visit my folks in the summertime, just to watch the temperature rise as you get there, and then come back, and then it just drops again 40 to 50 degrees by the time you're home. Yep.
Just because of the desert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just won't hold the heat.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Perfect. That's crazy. Coming from such a cold state,
Yeah, that's just not something I've ever had to deal with.
Right.
No snow.
There's no seasons.
Well, in Fresno, I feel like there is because you have just the dramatic
rain and the dry, right?
The heat and then the cold. Probably not too much of a spring or a fall, but there's differences here. What's the joke? You get 4 seasons every day of the year.
Pretty much.
That's
a good one. I haven't heard that one.
They're subtle, and they're just it's just the weather out here is interesting.
I first moved here, somebody said, well, your winters are like our summers and summers are like your winters. I still don't know what the hell he was talking about. What does that mean? I don't know.
Well, like when it's June here and it's cold, that's just still bizarre to me.
It's still weird, right?
It is so bizarre to me.
It does get cold.
Yep.
It's a different kind of cold, too.
Yes.
Being in Colorado or something and you're standing on the ocean,
Right.
Whoa.
Yep.
Blows right through you.
Exactly. Yeah, Colorado was cold in the winter, but where I lived, we had over 300 sunny days a year. So it would be freezing cold at night and early in the morning, but in the middle of the day, the sun would come out and it would warm up. And you're at altitude, so the sun's like a little closer to you. So it was awesome. It was beautiful there all year round.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
What a great podcast we had today.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us,
know you've had a long week and getting ready for the end of the school year and all that good stuff. So
no, thanks for having us. This was fun.
Yeah, great. All right. Hope you'll come back sometime.
Sure.
Definitely.
Next adventure when we see polar
bears. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll have you back for the 50K.
Yeah, all right. Sounds good.